All right, we're here, more or less. Hi, everybody. Yep, Slime Kitty. Slime Kitty Day. Yeah. Hey, Daffodweir, thanks for the resub. And D. Clearman, thank you both. Beam and Aqua, I'm still staring at them. I was just thinking about them. We decided David doesn't want to do them until we get a quote. So, hey, thanks, Margaret. Yay, resub. Hype train. Yeah. So yeah, we haven't done them yet. I was thinking that I would have them done this winter. Seemed like a good time. Or late winter, early spring, where it's a replant. But I'll be talking with our gardener about it. It's just money. So we just bought the place, so we just threw a bunch of money at it. And now, oh noes, my palette. I'm going to need that. So yeah, it's just need to be done, though, because new puppy is definitely coming, like, probably the end of next year. So, hold on. Yes, I appreciate that you resub. Hold on. Bonk. Sorry, guys. Just trying to get a lot done this afternoon, so I didn't grab my palette. Now I have my palette. Yay. Woo. It is a day. All right. Now we're ready. Oof. You made it. Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate the thought, Rex, whenever you can afford it. I mean, of all people, I'm a starving artist right now. Although I have a partner who is, financially secure. So it's not like I'm desperate, but it's still, my money for my stuff. I still know what it is to budget. So yes, I get it. And no pressure, man. Actually, our gardener's such a nice guy. I think he'd have his feelings hurt if we grabbed another gardener. Even if he did, like, plant the most death pepper, like, seriously death pepper bush, like, because he's Mexican, and the old tenant of this house, the old owner of this house, loved hot food, and so there's, I call them death peppers. They're those tiny little chilies that they dry and put in, like, really hot food. These things are death. Like, they're full of nothing but seeds. There is no meat. There is just seeds and skin. Like, it's death peppers. And there's a whole bush of them, and they're really happy. They're bright cherry red. They're all shiny right now. They're saying, hey, pick us! We'd love to make your food unpalatable! Hey, Infantana. Oh, wow. Already toward a level 3 type train. That's pretty cool. Thanks, guys. That's probably because I haven't been on for a little bit, right? Because we were out of town. So thank you all for the resubs. It really does matter. Like, it really seriously matters to me. Like, the Twitch check really, really does help. And it is going actively into the puppy fund now. I've, like, separated out a puppy fund, and now it's real, see? Now it's real, because it's closer now. It's within a year. But, yeah. Thank you for the resub, Infantana. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so first thing we're going to do here is Slime Kitty. We got to figure out what colors we're using, and I happen to be a fan of slimes being green, because green is one of my favorite colors. And David hates green, but we'll just ignore that. That's one of the few things that he has not as great tastes about. So we'll try a couple of things here. I kind of thought about kind of an orange to green fade on Slime Kitty. I'm thinking maybe his mouth needs to be orange. We also need to decide on Slime Kitty what parts get to be opaque and what parts get to be transparent. So I'm going to start pretty light, except for there are some parts that I want to bring in a little heavier color on. Let me grab Naga Green. I think I have Brilliant Green in here too. That would be useful. Yes. That's as dark or blue as I want to go. So the colors I'm looking at right now are these guys. Really bright. Clear yellow, alchemical green, only because I don't have moth green right at my hand, Naga green, and brilliant green. And all of these colors have decent coverage out the gate, but they definitely have a transparency level to them. And when you are painting see-through models from wherever, you want that transparency. If you want to preserve this And why would you paint it if you're not going to preserve it? I mean, I guess you could just, if you didn't have a slime kitty, an opaque plastic, then yes, you could completely paint the slime kitty in, opaque colors and just paint it as a slime that's opaque. But if you have a translucent model and you want to preserve the way that light moves through it, then you have to seriously consider using just colors that are transparent in order to preserve that. I won't discover the details until I look. Yeah, I see the slime, the spiral eye. So I'm trying to decide. I think I want the mouth to either glow or be opaque, and it's a hard call between them. There's light coming through there. The other thing to know about painting translucent items is that the more paint you load on here, the darker the translucent areas are going to get. You're going to lose the effect of light. It's like when you have a gemstone and you enclose it like all around with metal, then the gemstone itself is not as bright. Whereas when you have areas on the sides where the light can still get in, then you get a very bright, shiny gemstone. So translucent monsters and adventurers and things are exactly the same. The more you enclose them with opaque paint that does not allow light through it, the more you will lose the transparent effect. It'll stay on Twitch for, I think, at least a couple weeks, Rex. I think they save it for 2 weeks. Send him the link. But it should save it on Twitch as a VOD immediately after I do it. If he doesn't get to it, then just let me know. But let me see here. Okay, so I also mixed up an orangey yellow, which is definitely a little bit more unusual as far as me sticking to a given palette here. And I'm still debating. I think I'm just going to try. I'm going to mix up my clear yellow. I'm going to start applying it. I'm going to see how it works. Another excellent colors to use for this, if you wanted a more greenish kitty cat, would be to use Canary from Bones or to use neon yellow. So let's just start kind of like painting in some yellow. We'll put some yellow around the eyes. And even relatively clear paint, here I'm going to move in closer so you guys can see and zip in on the focus. Even more thin paint is still going to leave like kind of a residue. It's not going to be perfectly clear. And the reason for that is that pigments are not perfectly clear. They are not fully soluble in water. They're particulate. And so no matter how clear or transparent your pigment, you're still going to get a little coverage in there somewhere. So I'm going to start just painting in. I could do a wash as well, although I want to be cautious because I want to see how this affects the model. So I'm going to just start around the eyes and the head, and I'm going to grab some alchemical green, and I'm going to build that off of my my yellow. That needed better shaking. It's kitty time. Yep, yep, yep. So yeah, and I think I want this just a little bit more transparent. So you can always, I want to say one thing about this. Is this the 3D Print Resin Racks? Because it is taking paint quite well. Sometimes the clear PVC doesn't take paint as well. So just kind of try and see how thin you can get without the paint beating up. Because this is actually doing very well. I've thinned this paint extremely, but it's still building up nicely. I think I'm going to do lighter markings around the kitty's face. We can always add darker markings later. And maybe we'll do some green tabby. Maybe it's a green tabby. So maybe we'll put some stripes. I may also do his eyes in like orange and red, but we'll see. He's kind of creepy with translucent eyes. So this is a nice... Yes, it's 3-day resin. Okay, so any cubic brand. Yeah, old inks from the 90s tend to be actual dyes, so you could certainly use that to paint these and you would not get a loss of translucency. Anything that is, but then again, once you put a color down with that, you're kind of stuck because any additional colors you add over the top, they're going to bleed together. It's going to reactivate. So there's definitely like persnickety things about inks and the reason they're not used very much anymore. I'm definitely using a layering brushstroke here, which means I'm starting out and I'm pulling back toward where I want the color to be more solid because I want to bring up this color. I like this mask idea I've got going on. Who is that masked kitty? That masked slime kitty. So we'll get these colors going on. So we haven't really done a lot right now, but you can see how the yellow kind of shows through on the other side of the slime kitty. So one tactic you could do is you could actually paint like mostly the front of the slime kitty and then have that fade out toward the back of the slime kitty, and you would still see color through the model if you did that. I'm going to move to green now. I want to start building up these colors and seeing. Now, the other thing to remember is that the color that you put down first is the one that's going to be picked up by the light, because obviously with opaque paint, the green, if I put green over this yellow, the yellow is still going to be the bottom color, right? So you're still going to see that yellow coming through. Yeah, no, this is, but you never know though, Rex. Like with resin and with things in general, the question is, how thin can you put it on? And I washed this model before I decided to paint it, just like I would do with bones. And this very thin paint is going on very well, and it's sticking. It's not beading at all. So that's really nice. I like that a lot. So if you were going to print a 3D, hey, Iffy, thanks for the resub. Awesome. 14 months. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for resubbing today. I really, really, really appreciate it. I felt bad that I couldn't like fit my my Twitch in when we were in the middle of all that travel. And you're still my puppy fund, darn it. So alchemical green is really see-through. It's not building up at all. So what I may do is throw some of my yellow into that. And part of that is that clear yellow actually does have a very small amount of white in it. So you're seeing that opacity build up there. And I added that yellow then, a little bit of that into my alchemical green. Alchemical green is a very see-through green. Let's see if I can, there we go. So let's get some of that green building up. But there's a downside. So if your paint is really thin, what you're doing hypothetically is when you don't prime is you can damage the adhesion. And what I just saw is just that. I actually took up a little bit of my yellow paint. See that? It actually came up when I brushed the wet green over the top. I'm going to go to Naga, I think, because alchemical is just not progressing fast enough for me. And I can always mix yellow in. So that is one thing. Now, I could have primed this in, say, a dull coat or a clear spray. That would have impeded, probably, the amount of light that goes through. You can't use a gloss spray for that because it's just generally going to keep, paint from sticking at all. So you would need to use a matte spray to get an effect to be able to put paints over the top of it. But yeah, when you don't prime and you're painting over plastic like this, you can, and this will happen with bones sometimes, only if you try to work really thin with your base coat. But if you have really thin paint going over a straight model that you have not primed, beware that you can actually pull up the underlying layer of paint. So be gentle and kind of go slow and be careful with it. So we're going to bring in some green to start getting our kitty a bit slimier. And I'm going to gently try to throw some green over the top of this. But you got to just be, now that I know that that's a risk, I have to have a very delicate touch. And since this is the first time I've painted just flat over translucent transparent resin from a 3D printer. It's all exploration. It's all, see there, now we're getting some green up on that ear. Clear green would be a great green to do. All the clear brights would be a great thing to use. And I want to start light because I'm going to build up some darker colors on top. But I also, I wanted to start as light as I could. Once you go dark, you really can't go back. So it's kind of like watercolor. Because once you, if you're trying to preserve the transparency, once you go dark, the only way to go back over that is to put white down, and white will completely block the light. So then you will lose some of that transparency. So we're getting there. Let me get some straight up. Now I'm going to mix Naga and Brilliant so I can bring in some even darker green and see what that looks like. Slime kitty. The green isn't showing up that well on this. Actually, let me get, maybe I'll get a couple of black bases, and so we have some contrast here. Although maybe this will be good enough. I can see the green, but it is pretty subtle. I'm going to thin down this Naga and Brilliant mix. It's really close to clear green, actually, in color. Here's the colors I've got so far. So this apple green, this alchemical plus clear yellow is pretty subtle, so I'm going to paint it over the yellow there. Try to bring in a little bit more green. Let's see how this looks. That's a stronger green. We can actually start to see that green. Hee hee. This is actually kind of fun. I don't normally like painting transparent models, but it is kind of fun to just be using slimy colors. So get some green in there. And then I'm going to go back over with a little bit of this. And again, having noticed that I can take up my underlying layer of paint by applying more, I have to just be a little bit gentle with it. Make sure that I don't really scrub at it with my brush. Just do quick strokes, really lightweight, and build up the layers. Bones, I don't have to be this careful, because usually with Reaper Bones, I'm laying down a pretty heavy coat, you know, for my base coat. But with this, because we want to preserve this translucency, we can't do that. We have to be gentle with it. We have to try to keep this glowing effect, right? And if we put too much paint on, we're going to lose it. Kitty green. There we go, green. There's one green ear. Pretty glowing. But yeah, you want clear colors so that everything shows through them. I'm going to bring up some green in the middle here. And we have to be careful too about how many layers. This is from Rax's kid. Rax's son designed this, Crows. And I told him I would feature it on a stream. So, Slime Kitty. We're painting Slime Kitty today. Although the things that I'm talking about apply to transparent bones as well. And actually, I should say that when I washed my Water Weird, that was the only translucent mini that I painted on Pro Tips. But when I washed my Water Weird, I actually was able to apply very thin coats of paint on it. I'm gonna, I think, get a little darker around the mouth to make it all stand out. So wherever you want details to like really stand out, get a bit more opaque. Get a little bit stronger with your paint. So I want to get that mouth to really show up. And just doing a little bit of a heavier color there around the mouth is not really going to interrupt light because it's a small area. You're still leaving, there's still a lot of surface area on this model that's open. Yeah, slime kitty. Talk to Rax if you want a slime kitty. He is the master of the slime kitties. Get that little slimy tendril too that's coming down. There's a couple, one on either side. Slimy tendrils. Goopy slimes. Rawr. Let's look at the back. Yeah, see now how that's you're starting to see the green like coming through the slime. Even though we haven't put any color on the other side of the model, I think that's a pretty cool effect. It's one of the really cool effects about working with translucent models. I almost think that very simple sculpts like this are almost the best for translucency. There we go. We got that mouth starting. See that? I've got darker shadow. There you can see it. Darker shadow around it. You can also see how the roof of the mouth shows up as paler right now. It's actually catching a lot of light through my palette. So let's see here. Slime kitty. Still thinking about green tabby slime. We might do a tabby slime. There we go. Yeah, you could totally do that with metallics as far as like highlighting the top, especially the really transparent metallics. The mithril, filigree silver, and mithril might be from Bones might be two of the better ones for that because they're pretty translucent, but they've got a good flake load, so they would give you shiny without blocking light. But yeah, painting the bottom of something or the other side of something will still let you have that color show through. This is nice because it's so thick and it's also slightly frosted. So we're getting like this eerie green glow effect on the other side, which is fantastic. I don't know that I want to even put any color actually on the backside because it's going to look so neat just with what's, what the effect of what's there. So we'll see. The other one I have to work on during October is I've got Lon, who I've had in progress for a very long time, but he needs his backside finished and has for ages. So I thought I would take advantage of October to get some work in on him as well. But we can do all Slime Kitty today. Slime Kitty's kind of fun. Of all the Reaper Chibis, the Werewolf is my favorite. Now, as I get this paint thicker and thicker and I build it up, this green around the mouth, it will start to block the light. It'll really depend on how thick I make it. Though it's getting some cool effects now, even looking from underneath. See? So you could put a very simple paint job on one of these and get some really cool looking effects. Don't be afraid to go a little bit more opaque in areas which would get a natural shadow, like underneath the chin here. And then I need to bring that, since it's going to look a little streaky when you first put it on, the paint is. But just build it up a little bit at a time. And you should be pretty good. I kind of want to paint the tail. Yeah, the drippy drips look really good with green, alchemical green on them. So we can go much faster with our initial coat now that we're kind of doing a proof of concept. We kind of understand where we are. We can go very much faster. There's cool globulous forms in here too. So when I bring in my darker green, I can emphasize some of that details. Little globs that are kind of here that are hard to see until you get close, like the ripples in the slime. Those can be a little bit difficult to see. Just going to build up a little bit more of this green here. If you do feel you are getting a little streaky, you can also try a little bit of a crosshatch to hide any streaks. So since I started out going vertical under here, I could come back in with a cross stroke. Again, be careful. Remember, I did take up a little paint by getting a little bit too heavy-handed. So got to be really lightweight. I would definitely not use a like a Taklon on one of these. When you start laying down colors, I would use sable, all the way sable. Because sable hair is a lot softer than most other hairs. If you use a harsh hair with this, or a stiff hair like a Taklon, I think it's going to take this right up. I think it's going to take the paint right up. So you may try it. Be cautious if you do. I'm just going to kind of keep in here, trying to darken down my mouth here. There's little teeths and drips to bring out. That, and make sure that your colors are kind of set. Like, don't just put them down right away, go over the top of them. Give them a moment to settle in where you put them. Can reduce some heartache with colors coming back up. You can blob some of this on. I'm going to blob around the teeth here. Put a real heavy coat just around the edge of the mouth, just to really start to bring that out. Rawr. It's cool to watch how it changes with the light. But yeah, be just real careful and use a really light touch. And let your paint dry a bit before you go back in. And just based on what I'm observing here, it probably, if you did do a traditional wash over this, I think it would be a mistake to do another one. Like, I feel like if I threw a bunch of water at this as it stands, everything would come up. So, and yeah, any transparent model actually will look cool if you mount it on something with an LED, or you drill a hole into the bottom and put an LED in it. Depending on how you want to run it, then it would be very glowy. But it is a little bit of a challenge to paint these and make them look good, because of the fact that when you're trying, because the paint is opaque and it will streak, it will leave texture. So then the challenge is to try to work with that and make the textures make sense. There we go. Another ear coming online. The challenge with a model like this, which is a slime, is that any texture makes it not look unslimy, right? So now we've got, you can see I've gotten very opaque on the face now. We're losing a little bit. We got a little bit of glow at the edges still. But toward the center, we're not getting as much. And so remember that as you work at these. But see what the back looks like. Like the back is actually really cool. So I'm going to continue to nail down the mouth. So that the mouth kind of comes out and says, I am not I'm serious and solid. I'm going to bite you. Because why have slime teeth if the teeth can't like actually bite? So, but yeah, this is very much a challenge to get like a smooth transition on. And I'm not getting one entirely, but yeah, so what you want to do there, you've got a nightmare, is you want to probably use a clear orange, or as clear as you can get, to help with that, like a slightly darker, in order to put like suggestion of details on that. Be real careful though. Look back and watch my water weird tutorial. That's going to be the closest thing probably to doing that sort of paint, where you really want to just bring out the details in the flame, and otherwise you don't want to load paint on it at all. Rawr, says Slime Kitty. Slime Kitty's mouth's really starting to come out now. We'll do Slime Kitty's eyeballs shortly. And his little fat paws. He's got little fat paws down here. And I'm using my Naga Green and Brilliant Green mix right now. Just trying to really layer up texture until I can kind of get rid of the texture. I don't know if I want to paint it, Rax, because the problem with putting paint in there is you lose all that cool glowiness. Whereas if I keep darkening the face and then leave the mouth and eyes mostly transparent and untouched, then it's going to be a lot cooler. If I painted in the mouth, we'd lose a lot of the cool light coming in like we've got. And you can even see, notice how the eyes have gotten like darker. That's because a lot of light at the top of the head isn't coming through anymore. So the eyes light up when I put the light behind it where I've got no paint. So this is kind of the key here. You never want to overpaint. Phthalo blue is very useful. But yeah, we've got to leave some light back here. That's why I'm not touching this area. And if I do touch this area, the only thing I might do is to kind of accentuate these ripples in the back of the head. But even that would be dangerous. I lose a lot of this cool effect that I've got. And the ripples are showing up because they're breaking up the colors on the front. So we have to like think about that. We have to kind of think about what we want to do with that mouth, because the minute we fill it in, we're going to lose some of that, or we're going to take it a different direction. So the question you got to ask yourself is how much light do I want? How much cool light shifting effect do I want at the end of the day to preserve from this transparent plastic? And the more cool light shifting you want, the less paint you put on it. I mean, inks are the obvious choice, but layering them over each other is usually fraught with peril. Because they can reactivate. Now, acrylic inks like De La Rowney, which are not true inks, could work. I don't know if you'd get the same streaking effect that I'm getting here with Slime Kitty. I wonder if I put, you know what? I'm gonna try something. Where is my? I have Liquitex clear gloss. I wonder if I glossed. If I put a layer of gloss on Slime Kitty at the end, it would look pretty cool. And shine up the Slime Kitty. All right, let's bring this color down. Really thin coat here of the green. Alchemical green. Actually, I'm going to use a bigger brush. Bigger brush. A really big brush. Because I think the first layer with Taklon is going to be okay. I just want a really thin coat. Really thin. And then I want to kind of brush it away. I'm going to put a really light hint back here. Really light. Just like almost dry brushing it on. Like it's so thin, guys. But it's still leaving a hint of green. See that? See that hint of green? So that's taking a chance because I've now put a barrier between the light and the model. So we'll see if it was too much. The other really cool effect, actually. Now this shouldn't. This I'm trying to just tint the entire model a little bit green. Just so I've got paint everywhere. I've got a surface. I'm going to let it dry thoroughly now. But then we can bring in... I'm not going to do a wash over the whole thing. That's just, I think, that would be too much. This is almost a glaze applied over the top of it. But it did make it darker. See? Do you notice? We put an opaque layer. We still get some nice... Yeah, I'll bring darker green in around that to bring out those details. Painting, I mean, it still has form. So using traditional shadows still works somewhat. But you have to make them lighter weight. So, all right, I'm going to let that dry. There was another thing I was going to bring up, and I just lost it. I think I'm going to grab my gloss. Hold on, guys. I am going to try to gloss Slime Kitty at the end, I think. And this Liquitex is really good. Where is it? Aha! There we go. Very thick and shiny. Be careful when you use it. Fills in detail like crazy. This one. For a very shiny kitty at the end. But yeah, at this point, I'm confident enough with how the paint has been going on that I'm like, all right, I think I can just put a layer of thin green over the whole thing to give it a tint. And that tint actually shows up quite a bit if I put it, see it? Now you can really see that the whole thing has a slight green shift, right? Yeah. But if you put any more on this, you're going to start to really lose the light. And I don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm going to be careful from here on out. Where is my... There it is. There are lots of details of just like gloops on this model. And what you want to emphasize is up to you. You can see the ripples in the goo. But be cautious from this point on as to how much you fill in. Because we've just put a notable barricade. Even though it seemed so thin, even though it was just a glaze, it was still noticeable. It still blocked the light going into the figure. And we still get a cool effect on the other side, though, with that head. It's still very vivid and green. So I'm feeling okay about it. Slime Kitty's little paw. Yeah, painting clear plastics is can be much more difficult than you think, depending on your goals. Of course, you could just, put a, there's some drips too, so we want to keep those. We need to keep those drips intact, see them? So I'm going to start kind of like just sketching in some of these gloobs and drips over on this side. We could just paint this, with totally, go over the top of it and just paint it and not worry about the transparency. It would be just fine, of course. Hello, Liquid Nebula. Thank you for the resub. How's it going? It's Slime Kitty Day, and I'm trying to bring out Slime Kitty details without covering up too much. And again, I'm going to start with a brush stroke that's out a bit, and then I'm going to bring it more toward the paws that I want to bring out. I'm going to, again, look at these bits and ripples. Try to kind of like bring some of those out, see? Just a little bit. It is really hard to hide brush strokes here. I've not been sick for a very long time. I'm sorry to hear that you have been. I don't know what it was, but since I went like keto, since I went low carb, I mean, it's probably just because I started taking vitamins every day and I started eating a ton of vegetables. But yeah, I haven't gotten sick in the last 4 years, something like that. It's crazy talk. But yeah, I hope you feel better soon, Nebula. Now, what I am kind of hoping is that you are going to get some brush marks here. You are definitely going to build up brush strokes. It's going to look kind of gritty. You're going to be like, oh man, this does not look good. What I'm hoping, though, is that when we apply a gloss at the end to make Slime Kitty get all gooey looking, that all my brush mistakes will be covered up, or all my brush strokes will be covered up. And it's just, they're going to show up against a clear model. You're going to see. Like, you're just going to see the brush strokes. It's just, even with me, who, is really good at layering, you're going to see the brush strokes. But usually the result of a gloss coat is that you can't see details very well. And so here, that will work to our advantage because we want to hide some of the brush strokes we're getting. We are also going to build up a little bit on these paws and make them more opaque, I think. Maybe he's not a green tabby. Maybe he's a Slimamise. Gonna get these little paws. Keep building up my darker green to bring these details out around this little paw gloob. And there's actually quite a dark little gloob here. I think I want to really bring that pocket out a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of a darker green bloob in it. Like so. Hey, Kathy! Long time no see! We missed you at ReaperCon. How you guys doing? I'm painting Rax's Slime Kitty. So Rax333 in the chat. his son designed Slime Kitty, and he got it 3D sculpted for his kid. And then he sent a bunch to me, and I told him I would paint Slime Kitty on stream. So Slime Kitty's pretty cool, and if you want a Slime Kitty, you should talk to Rex333. And I think, Rex, you said you were going to post if you want people to contact you for this model, tell me how you want me to refer them. I don't know if you have a website or if you have something, or a Discord that you want to post it on, or whatever. Isn't Slime Kitty awesome? Slime Kitty also has slime kittens. Slime kittens. Slime Kitty. Slime kittens. Because why not, really? Yeah, now that everybody sees that Slime Kitty is adorable, Rax, now you got to figure out a way to get this STL file out there, right? So yeah, get on it. That's your homework. This is the problem with getting famous. People expect things of you. They want to know your contact info so they too can have a Slime Kitty. You should make a limited number and have your kid, sign a little card that goes in each one. Because it's his Slime Kitty. He can grow up to be a famous miniatures designer. I'm trying to paint this really building up colors really slowly, because the more, as I mentioned this earlier on stream, but a lot of you from Kathy's stream probably don't know, when you're painting a transparent model, the more paint you put over the surface, the less light can get into the model. And that means that you lose that translucency. I put a super thin coat. You can see this slight greenish tone. I put a super thin coat of this lighter green, really just a glaze, over the top of it to tint everything. And now I'm just trying to build up specific areas to where I want. But the more paint I put down, the less I'm going to get these cool light effects that are coming through. Right here on the side of the head from my big ring light is off in that direction. So that's why you're seeing the cool light come through here and here. Oh yeah, Thingiverse. You could look into that, Rax. Slime kitties who are ceiling cats could also, be normal green slimes and drop onto people from ceilings. You could take every lolcat and create a different kind of slime for it. But yeah, so that's why I'm building up this paint in really thin layers. And the hard part is about that, is that because I didn't prime this, I'm just painting right on the translucent 3D resin from the 3D print. The good thing is that really thin paint actually it doesn't bead up. It actually paints on decently, but it also can pull back up when I put too much water or too heavy a stroke over the top of it. So you have to, I was saying earlier, don't use a Taklon if you try this. Use a soft brush, use a Sable. Yeah, Grumpy Slime. Total Grumpy Slime. That needs to be the follow-up. The follow-up cat. See, you've started a trend now, Rax. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Everybody wants a slime. Slime kitty. But yeah, so I'm moving really slow. This also does show brush strokes. You can't see them that great because, but you can see a little bit of the texture. Just because acrylic paint is opaque, pigments are granular, you are going to see a little bit of the brush stroke. I'm going to get these two little slime drips. You can see those right there. So I'm trying to emphasize those a little bit now. So my hope is that tackling this at the end with super, super glossy finish will smooth out everything and make it look cool. Yeah, right? So, yeah, I've done, Reaper has the translucent bones in different colors, right? So I've done the water weird Kathy, and that was fun. But it taught me, minimal paint is best, because the minute you put, a layer of paint, for instance, on the back of the head, I put a heavy layer here, you'd lose the light coming through on that mouth. So, and in fact, the reason that the eyes are a little darker is that this coat up here is pretty heavy. And so any light that might enter from the top of the head is being barred. They get lighter. Let's see if I can get it to show. You can see it if you put like white behind it, but you can still see that the eyes are a little darker than the mouth. So, and then if you do it this way and you tilt it so that you get a little bit more light reflected into the front, then you see the eyes equalize with the mouth. So yeah, the challenge with painting a transparent model is getting just enough paint to bring out your details and to like introduce color and dimension, but little enough paint that you can still see like the cool light effects. Like you can see as I paint the front that we're getting some neat color effects here on the head. And I'm hoping more of that will translate to the body as we go, as I get heavier up here. So that is the hope. That is the hope. I think I am going to put a little bit more paint on the front of these little paws. But yeah, it's a challenge and it's interesting. It's almost like watercolor painting because you always, the minute you put anything over white on your paper, you no longer have a white on your watercolor. Unless you try to use white gouache and cheat. Well, we all know those people. But anyway, on Kitty, once you put that paint over that translucent area, there's no going back. I mean, maybe you could scrub it off with some water. I haven't tried that yet. But I kind of don't want to go backwards at this point. So you got to keep in mind, like, and just generally work a bit slowly if you want that cool glowy effect. I don't know. We'd have to like grab, actually, you know what? We can test this. We have the technology. 1 second. Let me find, where did I put my tiny intense light? Oh no, tiny intense light was, oh, there it is. Whew, I switched it to the other side when I moved. Sometimes, like, remember these, the little lights that Reaper gave away at ReaperCon last year? This is perfect. Let's test it. I have no paint on the bottom of Kitty at all, and these things are as bright as the sun. So let's aim it so it doesn't blind y'all. And there we go. So let's put that underneath Slime Kitty. This is what we look like with a light. So it's a little bit vibrating. But it's pretty cool, actually. Pretty cool. And the eyes are dark anyway, so that means that I really do want to maybe go a little bit red and orange with them. So Krios, I'm using paint. The problem with traditional inks, we'll keep this light out so that we can continue to test Slime Kitty as we go. But the problem with traditional inks is that they're dyes, and so you can put one layer down, but then if you try to put another layer over that, it's going to reactivate your underlying layer and bring it back up. If you're using stuff like Daler-Rowney, that's not really an ink. It's actually essentially a superfine wash. Acrylic inks are not traditional inks. So actually, I think the Daler-Rowney might be a pretty good solution. Unless their stuff's too opaque, in which case you're going to start running into the same thing I am, where you're going to start seeing all the brush strokes. So yeah, so I'm using a really thin paint because that's what I've used before. And actually, I kind of like the effect that we got there, where the color definitely shows through where it's heavier. And even the paws are starting to get an outline. Can you see? So what it says to me is I need to go heavier with my paint in the around the paws and around the various areas if I was going to do, say, an LED. Sure, or on Reaper. I mean, if it's a free STL, I don't think Reaper'd have a problem. If you ask Quindy, I'm sure she'd tell you whether it's kosher or not. But I know not everybody on the stream necessarily is a painting big person for my Patreon. So I'd hate to limit Slime Kitty to only me, only my people. Because, you know, Slime Kitty's cool. That said, I am still going to blend this up pretty lightweight and just slowly build it. Okay, yeah. Monday or Tuesday? Cool. Yeah, I'm hoping that the streakiness that I'm seeing Little drips, more little drips over here. That's cool. Lots of little drips back here. Can you see the drips, guys? Isn't that cool? There's some cool details on ye old slime here. So I'm not going to do much on the back, but I will bring out some of these little details a little bit more. I'll try to kind of paint in a little bit of shadow and hope that that doesn't impact the cool color transition that I'm getting. But I think that I'm going to mostly concentrate on the paint on the back being just about bringing out details. Yeah, so let's just get all these little ripples kind of formed. Get in there. Build it up a little faster, not too, that looks pretty good actually. So let's just build it up just a little faster. I'm leaving a lot of area here where I've only got that very thin layer of green on it, and that's what I want. I'd still want that light. And if you are planning on embedding an LED in your clear model so that you're always going to have it look like, you know, like the glow up, like the glowing kitty like we've got here. So if you're going to embed an LED, then you should definitely be comparing, you know, you should probably build up a much heavier paint coat than I am. But if you're doing kind of transparent slime kitty and you are not planning to LED, or maybe you're only planning to LED like here or there just to show people what it looks like, then maybe you want to go a little bit thinner. So it's up to you guys. Obviously, just like any mini, slime kitty can be painted numerous ways. I'm going to start building up a little stronger. I'm going so cautiously because I don't have an LED, so I am not planning to LED Slime Kitty, which means I want Slime Kitty to kind of stand on his own. So that means I need to be very cautious about how much paint I block the light with. I'm going to bring in my more yellowy green here. Go back and forth between that and my darker green. I can see these little traceries of color that I've put in here, but I need to make them a little stronger. And then maybe I need to mix up some more green. Yeah, later. Say hi to James for me. It's good to see you too, Kathy. All right, let's bring in some of this green a little bit heavier. And I'm going to bring the yellow-green down a little bit more. I'm going to have it transition a little bit more down from the head. Slime Kitty. Yes, Slime Kitty from Rex's Kid War Shadow. He sent me one, so I swore. He actually sent me Slime Kitty and Slime Kittens, so I said I would paint it on the stream. At least put some paint on it on the stream. Building up our green slowly. Trying to bring out all these awesome little swirls of slime. And I should actually just get some colors out and do the eyes. So let's actually do that. Let's put Slime Kitty down. You can see how the front is getting much more green now than the back when you look at it from top down. So yeah, talking about transparent models and how to tackle in more shadow. All right, I want some orangey things and some reddish things. Let's see here. I need a little bit brighter, or a little bit more shaking. And I'm gonna maybe make that a little more yellow to start with. And see what I can do with that orange. Using Explosion Orange with a little bit of Lantern Yellow in it. To get a brighter orange to do the eyeballs. Now, if you do want a really solid look and you do want to block the light entirely on any part of the model, then you can put down white first in order to get the brightness. I'm going to put down some yellow first. Oh, lost a little bit of that. Gotta get another drop in there. And I gotta get up and stretch in a second because 2 hours is definitely a stream that I do need to do a stretch for. I also need to slurp some of my caffeine. Yeah, I think people can see it. Must be a hypno slime. You go over this with the yellow first, and then bring in the orange over the top once it's set. Likewise on the other side. I wanted to do this green and orange anyway, so we'll just make the eyes the orange. I'm going to throw Slime Kitty all over the place. So I decided to go a little more opaque with the eyes, though I'll still gloss them at the end. A little bit of clear still around the eye. We'll see what I can do in the interior of that. Maybe I'll use the clear yellow that has a little white in it. We are just setting this up, and then I'll do my stretches real quick. There we go. I've got some orange in there now. Oh yeah, those eyes light up then. And they're definitely a different color. So there we go. If you put too heavy of a paint on there, it will actually block the light and just look darker. Hypothetically, you could lose like the color. Right now, everything is still pretty translucent, and I'm using pretty transparent paints. So when I turn on the light, you actually get the color, which is cool. Including the light parts around the eyes, which I enjoy. Hey, Jazzian, how's it going? You should be in bed. Right? But yes, we're slime kittying today. I'm actually enjoying slime kitty quite a bit. I do need to take a drink and to stretch and hydrate. So let me prop up Slime Kitty so you all can see her in all of her glory. And then I will take a quick drink and do a stretch break. That's what watching this. I can put you to sleep, huh? Must hydrate. Numb. All right. Let's do a stretch. It's Ian's stream. It's snooze worthy. So if you've been sitting for an hour, like I have, think about stretching. Your body will thank you. And Slime Kitty will return in 1 moment. Frog Pope Kickstarter. I did not. Not my style. Although I think it's a Printomancer one I'm thinking about jumping on for the awesome dogs. Although I wish they had a German Shepherd. Oof. There we go. And stretch the other arm. Yeah, my painting arm is upset lately. The ocean pummeled it when we were in Hawaii, and it has been acting up on me a little bit. A little stiff with the shoulder. Working it through it, though. Alright, I'm going to do just a couple of floor stretches, guys. I'll be right back. Alrighty. Man, I am almost unpacked. Oof, here we come. Well, thank you. I'm glad I'm relaxing. I am pretty chill. As opposed to like some other Twitch people, right? Alrighty, Slime Kitty, let's get on it. Yeah, I like the orange eyes. I'm gonna keep those. And mouth is still, jury's still out on the mouth. Let's see how the orange is. Oh yeah, see the orange comes through on the back. See it? It gives it this orange. Actually, that's pretty cool because here, let's get a white backdrop. See the orange eyes? Like it's giving kind of a weird orangey feel to the green back there. And then this clear area here is the mouth. So I kind of like that though. I kind of like the light coming through. I don't think I want to paint the mouth in. Yeah, that is the downside. I tend to make people want to paint. But yeah, I kind of like this clear area from the mouth. I don't think I want to paint the mouth in necessarily, especially because now, guys, the mouth is the only area that has not had paint put over it. See how luminous it is? I think I like that. I don't think I want to sacrifice that. So I'm going to continue to work up the body here. Let's get my greens back. I think I'm going to mix a little bit more of my dark green because it's getting a little low. And that was about a 50-50 of Brilliant Green, 9227, and Naga Green, 9413. Two of my favorite greens. Yeah, the kitty is coming along. You know, though, I think maybe, is it 1-to-1? I don't know. It might be a 2-to-1. Might be a 2 Naga. Just looking at it. Yeah, I think it's 2 Naga to 1. Brilliant. Let's try that. And then with some water. 1 drop. Let's do a 1-to-1. Well, Brilliant was the midtone for Peacock anyway. So it's related. It's related. There we go. Mix that up. Yeah, that's about right. If I wanted to go darker, I could go straight brilliant green. And actually, let's mix some of that up and see how it plays. Because that is a noticeably darker green. You can see it. Yeah, I mean, the key to keep it from running into crevices is just to have very little of it on your brush. I did 1 pass over the entire model, Jazzian, but it was with pretty much a glaze. I was able to just stretch it really thin over the whole surface. And that's as much as I don't want to do a wash on this sucker because it's, and I've mentioned this a couple times, but just for those who are new, because I have no primer laid down, because I'm painting right onto the resin, if I put a loaded brush over the top, I did have a point where I stripped up paint because there's no primer there to nail it down. So it's only what the tooth of the model will do to hold the paint in place. So at that point, you have to be very delicate about it, and I think throwing a lot of water at this would be a big mistake. So that's why I'm being so cautious, and now that I have that first layer down, I'm just bringing it up a little bit at a time. Yeah, we'll do Brilliant Green and see. That's going to be a lot darker. See how much darker that is. You can see it. It's much more, giving us a lot more contrast. I have to be careful. Careful, careful. Because remember, the darker you go, and the more paint you build up, the more light you are blocking. And the less luminous transparency you will preserve. So it's all your goal. It's always got to question yourself, just like with every model. What's my goal here? Is it to play off the transparency of the model? Or do I want just a little bit of that left over? And instead, I want to bring in a lot of color, a lot of solid color. And there is no wrong answer here. It's all in what your goal is. And that's the choice. The choices you make should be in line with that goal. But yeah, the more you put on here, the less awesome kind of like lighting effects like on the side of the face right now, the less of that you're going to get. So be very careful if you want to preserve some of those subtle effects that are entirely due to the transparency of the model. Once you lose it, you're not getting it back. So there we are. Now I'm going to try to bring a little bit of, and if you are going to hit a bunch of stuff with a very thin color, use a very soft brush and a very light touch to apply it like I just did. Very, very soft brush. So sable, pretty much sable only. Or if you're working on a very large transparent model, you may be able to get away with some of those big soft mop brushes. Something that's really, really soft and poofy. But then, of course, you won't get any precision with it, so it's a downside. But experiment. Why not? Especially if you can get one of these on a 3D print where you can just print it and, you know, print it again if you want to experiment. That's one of the awesome features of 3D printing, right? You can print multiple ones, and that way you can experiment and choose to follow through and finish the one that is the best. So I'm using some darker greens now, moving away from my lighter greens. Again, this is very much like you'd paint a watercolor, where you would lay down your lightest tones first and then just start to build up. And it's for much the same reason. In watercolor, you want to preserve the white of the paper because it's the only white you're going to get. And once you lose it, it's gone. And in translucent or transparent plastics, once you lose that transparency, you're not going to get it back. You've blocked the light, and whatever's left is left. There we go. Getting more of that green in there. But yeah, I mean, I imagine you could put like a heavy wash over this and you'd lose a lot of the translucency, but you'd probably still have enough to be cool. Especially if you're putting an LED in. If you're watching when I put the lamp under it, the areas that are painted do show up. Slime kitty from the back. Slime kitty's looking pretty cool though. Looks a little better from underneath. Let's see here. There we go, slime kitty. So if you put a LED light or two under there, you can light up slime kitty and still have slime kitty's features show up. So the opacity, the opaque paints will show up on that. Just putting a little bit more into the concentric, this hypnotic eye here. Because, you know, you need a hypnotic slime as well as a slime that's going to drop on your head from the ceiling. Hey, Paul John's Life, sup? Slime kitty is staring at you. It wants that tuna that you have, or the smoked salmon. Either will work. Why did she get eaten by the slime? Well, she had some smoked salmon in her rations. I guess the kitty wanted it. There we go. Cool. And I want to throw some water in here, just so this will stay fluid. There we go. Get that little bit more yellow at the top of this eye as well. There we are. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the weekend. Even though I just got technically off of vacation, the dog show was a lot more like work. When you're in charge of something, it's not really a vacation. And I was in charge of parts of it, so it was actually kind of stressful. It was also very long days. But there were cute puppies, so it was all good. And I got to judge one of the shows, which actually was super fun. I would totally do it again. As I go around the model, this is actually very zen because all these little ripples are like, it's just you're going around and you're kind of hunting ripples and you're just painting around them to bring them out. So it's actually pretty, this is pretty zen getting all these little like slime ripples highlighted or shaded. Yeah, I was pretty exhausted every night. Like it was over 12-hour days. And it's always stressful when you're trying to coordinate and make sure that the big event goes off without a hitch, you know. You know what it's like to run an event. And we had 2 of our leaders cancel at the last minute, so that meant that me and Shani and Bridget had to do the work of 5 people. Which, you know, you do what you can do. It was sad not to have them there. But with travel, Canadian travel especially right now is kind of brutal. Alrighty. Yeah, I can't do it 4 hours anymore. I think I've gotten too ancient to do that anymore to myself. I really feel it. Like, I can do it, but at this age, I recognize that I am nowhere near at my best if I do it, so... And that bothers me because, like, inevitably, when I'm getting that little sleep, it's because that I'm doing an event or something. And I need, usually if I'm doing an event, I'm helping run an event, and that means I should be at my best, not my worst. So yeah, it annoys me when I try not to schedule anything like that that will completely destroy my sleep schedule. It's a dribble. We're going to get that little dribble to stand out there. Putting a nice shadow around it. We're still keeping a lot of the space in between these kind of globulous layers fairly clear so that we can continue to have cool kind of lighting effects traveling through the slime. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've just, as I've gotten older, I try to get so organized that I don't have to do the 4 hour. And I delegate. I love to delegate. Happily, I have a lot of very dependable people around me that I can delegate to. There we go. We got that paw sticking out very nicely. We got to work on this other paw, though. It needs help. This paw is not very defined. But yeah, it was fun to see the pups, Kiri great grand puppies, and I get to meet their new people. It was a pretty good litter, although that little boy, he was stubborn. And it's like that's one where you really want to like support your puppy people when you're like, yeah, this dog's probably going to be 110 pounds at least when he grows up, and he's got a stubborn streak. Luckily, he was a kind of a mush and would just go along eventually with even if he didn't like it. So that's a good thing. All right, let's get some of this blocked in. Stubborn streaks are endearing until you're trying to get your 110-pound Shiloh Shepherd to go into the vet's office and he's digging his paws in and not wanting to go. Then it's no longer so endearing. I don't mind a little independence in my dogs, though, with that said. Kiri had, like, the pretty good temperament. She had selective hearing when she didn't want to do something, but when it came down to it, if I needed her to do something, she would always try. Yeah, looking forward to getting a new puppy. Probably winter next year. Alright, so getting some of those greens, some greens like blocked in on the back. We still want to preserve some of that cool glowiness though, so keeping that. Got glowy tail, I like the glowy tail. The mouth. Yeah, that's a thing. Luckily, we're not AKC, so we don't have, I guess some people still use professional handlers for rare breed shows. It's just not, it's not usually a thing because it's such a casual, compared to AKC, rare breed shows they tend to be so casual that the owners actually just show their own dogs. But yeah, that's definitely a thing, that whole drop your dog off at the handlers to go to the show all weekend. There we go. So those paws are coming out now. I think I want to add some yellow to the top of the paws. So just like we brought out the face, I'm going to bring out the paws. Yeah, one of those little puppers I really liked. I would have totally taken her if she'd been a smooth coat. I just don't want a plush coat again. I don't want a long-haired dog. Smooth Shilohs are certainly pettable enough. There we go. I'm just going to start bringing up some of these little details, little paws, little ripples of goo. But yeah, I really like the wash and wear coat on a smooth. And I'm a rarity. Like most people, they think of Shiloh Shepherd, all they want is that long, showy coat. And I'm just like, no, please, never again. Though, I mean, it's not like the smooth coat doesn't shed. Because it's got more of a traditional, like, kind of like a German Shepherd coat. Maybe a little bit less plush than your standard German Shepherd. A lot of them seem to be breeding for slightly longer smooth coats these days. So it's probably because it's showier. But yeah, it still sheds. There's still Shiloh shedders. You still need your Furminator. Or your rake, depending. But they're just a lot easier to clean up. If your dog gets into mud, you just kind of, wait for it to dry a little and brush it off. Instead of having to take a bath. There we go. So we've got those little slime ripples coming up with the yellow. Dedicated Roombas. Yes. Yeah. I mean, when we moved out of the old apartment, we were still finding Kiri dust bunnies. It's like the little bits that were left of Kiri. Just bringing out these little paws. With a little bit of yellow. we go. What do you call a person that cleans a vacuum cleaner? I don't know what. There we go. Oh my. Oof. A vacuum cleaner. A vacuum cleaner? Shilohs can be white, though. I mean, we do have the recessive white in our breed. One of Kiri's puppies, Astra, was a white Shiloh. She was Kiri's firstborn. And she came out and she was white. And our breed founder was super excited because she always likes the white dogs. That's why she introduced a white shepherd, Canadian white shepherd outcross. She wanted our breed to have the white in it. And a white, long-haired, long-coated Shiloh is a really good-looking dog. Here we go. We've got our paws going on. They're standing out now. She ran out of ink. That's awesome. Oh, I'm going to have to share that one, Chezian. I'm going to have to share that one with my fellow dog breeders because that's a fantastic way to think about it. Yeah, her daughter, or her great-granddaughter, who I'm going to probably get a puppy out of next year, has thrown whites. She threw whites in her first litter. And now that her owner is all these people contacting her asking about white Shilohs, I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you produce whites. Suddenly all the people go to you. Because they're not very common. And they are pretty beautiful. There we go. Starting to get there. Yeah, and the Shiloh Shepherd babies who are white look like little polar bear cubs. Like, they're adorbs. Totally adorbs. There we go. I'll give Kitty a little bib there. It's easy to get into this and then forget and then find that you've painted too much. And you've blocked out a lot of stuff. So the paw's coming out pretty well there. Almost a little too well. I almost want to glaze over it and take it down a little. Let's see here. There, so we'll brush the green over it very gently. Give that a little bit more to blend in. There, much better. That's better. And then there's this one I can pick out. Slime Kitty! But yeah, the rarest color in our breed is actually black, solid black. Because in our breed it's a recessive gene. So both parents have to have it, and it's not common in the gene pool. There was one black dog in the show over the weekend, one solid black smooth coat, and she was the first solid black smooth that had been born since 2005. So like 16 years of breeding and never a solid black smooth coat until then. So it's very rare. The black is very rare. We have one breeder who's really conscientious. Like, she really wants to keep it in the gene pool because she really likes the black dogs, and so she's always trying to find dogs that have that gene, that fit with health and temperament and all the rest. There we go. Yeah, she's a skinny mini right now because she's not very old, and so they tend to be kind of gangly until they fill out, but really pretty girl. I wonder, where did I leave my phone? I do not have my phone with me. If I did, I'd show you a picture. Because she's rocking, we do an auction to help offset costs for our event, and there was a lot of people get those fancy dog collars to put in the auction to donate. And there was a hot pink one, and so the black dog ended up with a hot pink collar, and she totally rocks it. Her name is Yahtzee, for those of you familiar with the dice game, because it is such a rare roll to get a solid black. So it actually was really fun, really cool name. Her owner's pretty cool too. So, and she actually is a Kiri great granddaughter, the black one. Not from Kiri's side, because Kiri actually didn't have the gene, but from the dog her son was bred to. Dribbles. Many dribbles. Dribbles. More dribbles. So yeah, this is very zen, like painting one of these, because the shapes are simple and you're just building up and kind of suggesting, shapes and forms. And it's just a really relaxing paint, actually. Once you've gotten your groove and you kind of know what you're doing and you've gotten used to the thinness of the paint and just building up the details, it's really a fun paint. Yeah, Yahtzee's a cute name. I agree. I don't know what we're going to name ours. I always want to meet the puppy before I name it. But my kennel name, which I still keep around even though I haven't bred for ages, is Sparta Shilohs, because our first boy was King Leonidas of Sparta, Leo. And so all the other, Kiri was a kind of an exception because we didn't actually have our kennel name when we got Kiri, so we named her Valkyrie. But I like mythological names, and because of the Sparta name, I'm thinking Greek names. So I was kind of thinking of looking at like the names of the muses and such for our puppy. For our new puppy. We'll see. I'll pretty much tell David, like pick a character you really liked from the Hades video game and we'll think about that one. For our first litter, we had Astra, which is the Greek word for star. That was the white Shiloh, white girl. And then we had Andros, and we had Ajax. Those were our names for the first litter. And second litter, because my husband at the time was into guns, we actually gave them kind of more firearms names. But these days, I want to go back to the mythological stuff, I think. If we ever have puppies again. If we have puppies, you guys are going to just be in freaking heaven, because then I'll have a puppy cam with all sorts of puppies. Little tiny ones. I don't know, though. We'll see. Jury's still out on that one. First, I need a puppy. Themis, yeah. I like Calliope, and I like Thalia. Neither of which have ever been used in Shilohs before. That's kind of also a requirement. Like, I like to, we kind of joke about, like, our breed founder's daughter has, like, no originality with names, so she just reuses them. And, like, it just makes it so confusing when you're trying to figure out which dog is related to who. Because you're like, which captain? Which dog? Which sage? Which one? So I kind of want to use names that nobody's used. And a lot of the Greek names have not been used. I don't think we definitely have a couple of Aries, but I don't think we've gotten Athena. Even though, no, maybe one. Maybe we've had one Athena. I don't think we've had an Artemis, though, and I love that name. Shiloh stream. Yeah, puppy cam. Puppy cam stream. It might be a thing, guys. It might be a thing. We'll see. Before any Shiloh Shepherd can actually have a litter, there's a whole battery of health testing that you have to pass and temperament testing. And if you fail that stuff, then you're not breeding. So I always say when you get a new pup, you just don't know. It's just a question mark. If I get a pup and she passes all of her health and temperament testing, then I will consider having a litter. Just to help the gene pool. There we go. So we're getting more green. We got our little paws coming up here. Let's take the light and look under it. Iffy is a great Greek name. You want me to name my puppy after you, Iffy? I may be one that's, Rax, are you in the chat? I think he was going to see if he could post on the Reaper Discord and also on my Patreon Discord. So if you're either on the Reaper Discord or the Patreon Discord, I may be one. Then you will be able to figure out getting a slime kitty. He should post something. Hopefully Reaper will let him post. Might be an iffy choice. Oh, that's terrible. So there's a slime kitty. An illuminated slime kitty. Here, let me get my hand out of the way. Slime kitty. Illumination of the slime kitty. I kind of like slime kitty better without illumination now. Slime kitty's really looking pretty cool. Like, slime kitty is actually looking pretty cool. See how the little details are coming out now? You can see them a little better from the top. Yeah, do so. Yeah, we're pretty much the end of the stream here. But you guys can see how... Here, let me put... Looks up. It looks better. It's easier to see when we get here. There we go. Over the white. So you can see how we're keeping a lot of areas clear so that we can still get some cool lighting effects. But bringing out these little gloobs and everything is important to get to show the details. So it's kind of that compromise between how much detail you want to put in, but how much light you're willing to lose. So hopefully we'll see a few more of these. Hey, Scott Roscoe, thanks for the follow. Yeah, we're right at the end of my stream. Although, actually, is Reaper up, guys? I didn't even check. Is Reaper live up? Because we're going to go raid them. But yeah, this is Slime Kitty. Rax's son designed it. I told him I would paint it. So we've spent the stream talking about translucent models and painting them. And actually, I'll probably post it up. I'll get time to post it up on the YouTubes, on the Painting Big YouTubes. Just because I don't often paint transparent models, so... Oh, Reaper is up? They've got it starting soon. Got it. So, Scott Roscoe, no, I'm not. I'm not using ink. The reason is that inks, depending on the type of ink you grab, inks tend to be dyes. And that means that you can get down a good layer of them, and they're fully transparent, and they're shiny. But then when you try to paint over them with anything, it's going to bleed through. Now, if you use something like Daler Rowney inks, which is an artist brand of inks, those are actually called acrylic inks. And acrylic inks are not dyes. They're actually super fine acrylic pigments. So they mimic the effective inks, but they're actually really thin. They're more like washes, really heavy washes. And you could probably paint one of these with those really easily. The other thing I thought about, guys, I wanted to mention real quick before we raid Reaper, but using color shift on one of these might work really well. Like if you choose the right color of color shift and put it just in a really thin layer over the whole thing at the end and then put a gloss on it, I bet it would look really cool. Like super, super really cool. Up, Reaper's up. But yeah, so I'm using paint because I don't like it to reactivate when I go over the top, Scott. So... instead, I've been working just with Reaper Master Series paint, thinning it down a lot, and just slowly building it up in layers. This started out here. Here's one of the slime kittens. This is how it started out. So completely clear. And now, when you put them next to each other, you can really see how much we've brought it up. because this is what Slime Kitty looked like at the start of the stream. So, yes. So an acrylic ink is more like a really, really thick wash. So it's got super fine pigment in it, but it's really a paint. It's not really an ink. But yeah, you should have no problem with that. Like, you should actually be able to use those over transparent. This is, I forget which, Rex, what specific 3D printing, is it? Material? He had a brand that it was, but this is a 3D print. So it's printed in transparent resin. I just forget the name of the clear resin that he used. Now, if you're trying to paint over a clear PVC, where it's a plastic, whole different ball game, because that can really repel thin paint. Anycubic clear. Yes, that was it. Thanks, Jazzian. So a PVC can be hard because it can repel moisture. I usually wash mine with dish soap and hot water, and that helps thinned paint to cling. It's just a little bit more difficult. It depends on the company, depends on the finish, depends on so many things. But yeah, the whole thing is, with clears though, is that you want to leave a lot of it clear if you want to have the cool light effects. And then you can put a little bit more paint on if you're going to do an LED. This is just a light, but here, the thickest paint parts are still showing up as glowing, and instead you're seeing the color. So implanting an LED, this is just a LED bulb, but implanting one of those like into the bottom of these type of models can give you some really cool results, even if you're pretty heavy with the paint. Otherwise, the more paint you put on and the less areas you leave clear, the less cool light effects and transparency effects you're going to get. I like the cool kind of see-through and glowy effects I'm getting here on the head and tail because I've left a lot of the model clear, especially when the base is completely clear and no paint on it. So when the light hits it from my big ring light up there, it makes the head kind of light up and the tail kind of light up. I really like that. I think it's one of the advantages of painting clear plastic. So yeah. So that's just a quick one, but yeah, if you want to, this will go into the VODs. So if you want to like kind of get all the commentary on it, yeah, you can unsee it from start to finish. It'll be up on my VODs, Painting Big here on Twitch, and then I'll throw it over on my YouTube. But yeah, welcome and thanks for the follow. All right, guys, we're gonna go raid Reaper because I'm gonna go and get some stuff ready for supper. So thank you for tuning in for Slime Kitty. Probably next week, unless I feel like there's more Slime Kitty to cover, I'll work on Chibi Werewolf because he's fun. Yeah, every Thursday, of course. Let me get that raid set up for Reaper. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping in. It was really nice that Kathy raided us, too. I like the Wapples. I haven't seen them in a while. There we go. We're queuing up to raid Reaper. Queuing. There we go. All right, everybody, have fun. Go tell Reaper hi, and I hope you guys have a great night. All right, adios.